So it's Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by my good friend, manager.
No,
Well,
before we start, no Regis Prograis, no talking about voice. That
brilliant. You morphed into another promoter there for a second. Naming no names because I don't want to get sued. But yeah, good friend Sam Jones, father of two, manager extraordinaire. What else? What else do you go by these days?
I don't know. There's a lot on there, isn't it? Voice note prick, fat prick.
Yeah.
It's that no. There's all. It's wasn't actually voice notes. Funnily enough, wasn't actually voice notes, but I'm sure we'll divulge
Yeah, we
into
could talk
this.
about that, but what are the things you send me with the picture of you or the picture of some other people in boxing? Are they memes? Are they emojis? What do we call those?
With what? Sorry.
You know, with like the thumbs up and the ones of you.
Oh, you mean the stickers on
Yeah.
WhatsApp?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, sticker prick.
Stickers, the sticker,
Yeah,
yeah,
sticker
sticker
prick.
prick,
Yeah.
yeah, sticker prick. Oh, I love a sticker though, Danny. They're good. They're
Yeah, I've noticed. Anyway, let's start with this weekend as we've got a lot to get through. We'll get on to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in due course. But
mm.
there are some proper fights happening as well. Chris Billum Smith is over in Riyadh. We're going to
Looking
get to
forward to
watch
that
it
one.
at normal time on Sky Sports, which is great, against Zurdo Ramirez. How do you kind of weigh that one up? It's a very intriguing fight.
Yeah, I would. It's impossible to dislike Chris, isn't it? Like it's impossible to dislike him. He carries himself well. He talks well. He's just a nice man, isn't he? I was talking to him on Talksport. No, I really wish him well. I hope he goes there and gets the job done because we haven't got many UK world champions. So we need to be getting behind Chris and hoping he goes out there and gets the job done.
Yeah, do you think he will get the job done though, Sam? I appreciate you want him to win.
Uh, I think it's a hard fight. But yeah, I'm backing Chris to win that fight.
Fair enough. And then we move from, you could say the sublime to the ridiculous. I'm not sure entirely how I feel about it yet. I certainly won't
Yeah.
be watching it live. But Jake Paul against Mike Tyson, we had a big discussion about it on our live last night, and I think it was something like 65% of our audience said they would be watching it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Is it a case of good for the sport overall or not so
Um,
good?
People are gonna watch it. Like, listen, I did an interview the other day on one of your rival channels, and I got a little bit of stick for saying that, and I didn't put it into context, which I will do in this. I will say more clearly in this one. Say if Mike Tyson goes in there and wins in one round, right?
Yeah.
He wins in one round, which I don't think he's going to do. If the fight's not like fixed or whatever, I don't believe it's going to happen because of just simply his age, and he was finished 30 years ago against Kevin McBride. But if he did, do you remember when Mike Tyson released a clip of him bobbing and weaving and doing some really sharp pad work, and then
Last pads, yeah.
you saw people on Twitter or online and not boxing people, but people that like combat sport, Mike Tyson. Oh, he can still be AJ. He can do. That's what people were saying. So what I was saying on the interview was, if Mike Tyson did beat Jake Paul, is it really a good thing? Because then they'll be like, oh, let him have another one, and it's no, it's not. But is it really going to be good to see a living legend like Mike Tyson lose to somebody like Jake Paul? No disrespect to Jake Paul because he's a great businessman, but I was saying online the other day, I want to see him if he's going to fight and box and he's going to continue to fight people that aren't in their primes per se. Fight Tommy Fury a rematch. Fight Darren Till, like opponents that are live. Do you know what I mean? Like that can basically pick on someone your own size type thing. But no one can fault the businessman that Jake Paul is. I just hope that no Mike doesn't get hurt in that fight because he's 60. He's nearly 60 years old. That's just the bottom line. He's 60 years old. Um he's not what we can you hear my daughter screaming in the background?
No.
Can you actually not hear her? She's really like kicking
She's
off.
really against Jake Paul and Mike Tyson,
She's
clearly.
really against Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, yeah.
But yeah, getting back to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. So obviously on Netflix, it's going to be a huge audience Will people only be watching the main event though, or will they be taking in actual traditional boxing on the
You
undercard?
would hope so, because Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor is one of the best fights I've ever watched. Like it was a classic at MSG. So hopefully people will tune in and watch real boxing. Because I'll be honest with you, Danny. I thought Jake Paul, being the clever guy that he is, and no one can take that away from him, he's a brilliant businessman. I thought this was all kind of like a setup kind of thing, like to lure people in and then at the last moment cancel it and make Katie Taylor and Serrano the main event to bring that kind of audience to. But it's clearly not going to be the case. Looks as though we are actually going to see Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul, but who knows? But there's some good fights on there, some real boxing on this weekend, and let's hope that it's good. It turns out to be good for the sport. But listen, I'm not a fan of Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson. I've got to be real. I'm not.
And you said the fight's not fixed. There have been a number of rumors about Tyson potentially getting paid more if he doesn't knock out Jake Paul, or the longer Jake Paul lasts, the more he gets paid. Are you ruling all of that out?
Yeah, I am ruling that out because Jake Paul. Who did Evander Holyfield lose to the other time? That where he got beaten one round by that MMA guy.
Oh God.
I can't remember his name. I don't want to
Yeah.
I don't want to say it because I haven't got a clue what his name is. But you know what I mean, right? Mike Tyson hasn't boxed professionally. I don't know when he lost to Kevin McBride, but no disrespect to someone like Kevin McBride, but Kevin McBride shouldn't really have a Mike Tyson on his resume, but he has. He was done 30 years ago. Jake Paul, no matter what anyone thinks, has been boxing. He's been boxing with small gloves on and active. He's been fighting. He's been regularly, and he's what is he, 29?
Mm.
Like I said the other day, let's hope Mike Tyson's got one good round in him or two good rounds in him, but then I'm kind of contradicting myself because I'm just saying, like, if he does win, I don't know. Let's just hope Mike's okay after the fight.
Vitor Belfort.
Vitor Belfort, that was it.
I had to Google it, but I'm not a massive MMA fan, so that's my excuse.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not knowledgeable on MMA, so I don't know who these people are. So
yeah, well, WWE's more our kind of
it
lane.
is, yes.
I've seen that taken some shade over this Tyson Paul thing, saying, "Oh, it's because of WWE that it's happening, and it could be just as staged as WWE is."
I don't think so, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't caught up on Monday Night Raw yet, but we'll leave it there. Conor Benn announced some news last week that his suspension has been lifted by the National Anti-Doping Panel. The suspension initially imposed by UCAD, and he says he's been cleared of any wrongdoing. We haven't seen the report, and we haven't. That statement specifically hasn't been endorsed as yet by either UCAD or the board, so we don't know for sure exactly what was said. What do you make of it? Is it just the same thing we heard last time when the suspension was lifted, or is this a real breakthrough?
Honestly, Danny, I'm just like, it's such a boring subject now. It's such a boring
Cheers,
subject.
mate.
Like but it's been going on years, hasn't it? It's been
Don't
going
turn
on.
off, people.
Hey, what's that? Yeah,
We'll make it exciting.
yeah. But it's pretty. But you know what I mean, though. Like all the people that have failed tests, huge names in boxing, like they've had the 6 months. Like it's been going on for 2 years. Connor has insisted the whole time that he's done nothing wrong, and he's continued to back himself, pay obscene amounts of money to defend himself. It's gone to the arbitration, and they've cleared him of any wrongdoing. Right. So again, let's see what happens. But as it stands right now, Conor Benn is clear to fight, and let's hope we see him in some massive fights.
And with that in mind, what are the massive fights that you'd like to see him in? Because I know you're not particularly a fan necessarily of the EUBANK fight. Uh,
I am a fan
are
of the
you?
EUBANK fight. Yeah, I want to see the EUBANK fight. It's the only fight I believe for EUBANK. I
It's the only
mean,
fight for EUBANK.
it's the only fight for EUBANK. Yeah, I mean, look, he can rematch Liam Smith, which I think would be a bad move on his part because the Liam Smith he boxed in the second fight was Liam Smith just making weight to fight EUBANK. That wasn't the Liam Smith. No disrespect to, I don't want to shit on Eubank's win because I thought it was, listen, Eubank took some balls to get in there again after what happened to him in the first fight and go and turn it around. But it wasn't the Liam Smith that we are used to seeing in that fight. Liam Smith, that wasn't the Liam Smith we're used to seeing. So, so in that respect, I would like to see a third fight between Liam Smith and Eubank, but money wise, it's not going to be anywhere near what the Conor Benn fight is for Eubank. So that's the fight we need to see, isn't it?
And you think from previous interviews that EUBANK, if he went up against a Hamza Shiraz, a Janibek, anyone like that, he'd probably lose for far less money than he'll get against Ben.
Yeah, like he's not going to fight Hamza Shiraz. Hamza Shiraz is young, up and coming. He's framed massive. He's massive for the weight, punches very hard, and you're going to get paid good money to fight him. You're going to get good money to fight anyone because Eubank's a big name. I'm not going to downplay the size of Eubank as a name because Eubank's a big name in British boxing for sure. But his biggest payday is Conor Benn, and that's just a fact.
Daniel Dubois, who's he fighting in February? What are you hearing?
I think he will end up fighting Joseph Parker, and I think that's a brilliant fight. And nobody deserves it more than Big Joe. Big Joe's on like the best run of his career and boxing the best. And listen, Andy Lee deserves a lot of credit. I like how they've stuck together because I know when Joe destroyed him, Joyce destroyed Joe Parker. But then since then, they've stuck together. They've worked on things, and look what's happened. This is what happens in boxing. People are so quick, Danny, right, to look at boxers that are in boxing and they lose a fight and they're finished. You've got to retire. You've finished. We shouldn't work like that. It shouldn't work like that because imagine I'm not saying it's the same, but like in tennis, imagine Novak Djokovic loses a match or one of the high profile tennis players lose a match. Oh, he's finished. Come back next time and he wins a Grand Slam. Boxing, Parker is a prime example of you can go again. You can go again. You can work on things. You can get better, and you can deliver some of the best performances of your career after a loss. And that's what Joe Parker's done. That's what I mean. I didn't want to bore you into it, but yeah, Parker's on a crest of the wave at the moment, and he deserves his world title shot.
I think it's a great fight for the fans. Eamon and I were talking
Brilliant
about
fight.
this last night. If I was in Dubois' team, I would view Joseph Parker as an incredibly dangerous fight stylistically for Dubois.
But listen, they're all going to be hard fights for Daniel Dubois now because he's a legitimate heavyweight champion of the world, Daniel Dubois now. I believe it got taken away from him with the Hrgovic fight. I believe that should have been for the vacant belt and he should have had his moment then. But look, Daniel Dubois, he's easy to hit. He's easy to hit. There's a way to beat him, but there's a good chance he's going to knock you the fuck out. Daniel Dubois. He's such a heavy-handed fighter. He's got confidence being installed to him by his new coaching team with Don and Kieran Farrell. Don Charles and Kieran Farrell, they've installed real confidence and belief into him now. So, yeah, Daniel Dubois is going to be a hard man to beat.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's other tough matches out there that maybe would have suited him better, though. Like we were talking about Zhang last night, and everyone says, Zhang's really intimidating and so on. He's, certainly accomplished. But just Dubois' style, his youth, his footwork, I would have thought Zhang would be a more suitable opponent for him.
Zhang can really punch. Zhang's a bigger puncher than Joseph Parker.
Certainly, yeah.
And Zhang's dangerous, although quite lazy. He's quite lazy, Zhang, but if he hits you, you're going to be in trouble. That southpaw backhand. But Zhang, what is he now? 43, 44? Like whatever he is, he's getting on a bit now, Zhang. So yeah, listen, they're all, like I say before, Danny, they're all going to be hard fights for Daniel now because he's the IBF champion of the world. You got people like Bacoli climbing up the IBF rankings, and not like what I said the other day. I know I made a joke of it on Twitter about when Ben Shalom had said he's available to fight Daniel Dubois. I said that it's like me saying I'm available for Margaret Robbie because no one's going to fight Martin Bacoli unless they absolutely have to. But that's a compliment to Bacoli, really, because you're looking at him and looking what he's doing. Like Jared Anderson was I know he's only a young man and Jared 100% can come back again, but Martin just made mincemeat of him. So people are going to be looking at him thinking, no, thank you. Not unless I absolutely have to, or the dough's ridiculous. Like Caballero, but Cody's a really interesting fight. Looking forward to that.
Now, just to clarify, as I know your missus is a devoted fan of Seconds Out, you're not available for Margot Robbie, are you?
No, I'm not available for It was more. It was more a uh an
Metaphor,
analogy.
analogy. It was an analogy.
Yes, and
Yeah.
then for analogy purposes, yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah, just thought we should clarify that because I don't want any angry wives on my case. Um, just moving on from that, you mentioned Ben Shalom there. He's taken a bit of flack in the last week from Joe
Oh,
Gallagher.
we all take flack. We all take flack. I take flack every day. We all take flack.
Let's talk about this particular piece of flack that Joe Gallagher has thrown in Ben Shalom's direction regarding Natasha Jonas's inactivity. She hasn't been out since January. We talked about this on the live last night, and there's a couple of other female fighters under the boxer banner who haven't been out for some time. Lauren Price, Karis Artingstall among them. Are boxer doing enough to capitalise on the, I won't say vacuum, but fewer UK shows at the moment?
Um, Look, to boxers' defence, I think a lot of the UK shows have kind of what's the word? Not decreased. There's been less shows. There's been less shows because of the brilliant Riyadh season cards and fighters expecting huge paydays. So I do understand it, but yeah, look, Sky. What have they had? 7 shows this year.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot of shows. And when you have the stable of fighters they have, and they have a lot of young fighters as well, like the Caroline Dubois, or they have a lot of young fighters they need to
Develop.
to develop and get out. No, look, it's not. It's not the best. It's not the best. And when you hear Joe Gallagher say that on this, and Joe's been a big boxer fan, hasn't he? So for him to say that is like, well, I don't know. There's maybe some internal problems there that I'm sure can be resolved. But I would like to see Natasha. Listen, Joe Gallagher. To be honest, I like what he said to Joe. I don't always agree with what he says. I'm sure he doesn't always agree with what I say, but I like he's very defensive of his fighters, isn't he? He's very protective of Natasha, and he's like, look, Natasha should retire. She's done everything. So I like what he said, I respected what he said, to be honest with you. But I would like to see Natasha have at least one more, like a homecoming fight in Liverpool. I think she deserves that because she's been amazing for British boxing. So yeah, let's hope they can kind of rekindle their relationship or whatever. Yeah, I haven't really got, because I don't really know the ins and outs to it. I don't want to like comment too much on it, but you are 100% correct in what you're saying. That they have to do more. They've got to do more shows, haven't they?
Good stuff. Now, we also found out last week that Riyadh Season, Turki Alalshikh has purchased the famous Ring
Ring
magazine.
magazine. Yeah.
What are you a Ring magazine fan? Is it something you
Yeah.
kind of grew up reading?
Yeah, look, the Ring magazine belt and the Ring magazine, the Ring magazine is what you grow up reading like as a boxing fan, and like the belt, like I look at the Ring magazine belt when when I see someone with a Ring magazine. This is just my opinion. I always think that's the number one in the division. Whoever's wearing that belt is is it red, blue, and white? Is it that the belt with the
Yeah,
gold in it? That's a
quite similar
prestigious.
to the Lonsdale belt.
Yeah, and it's like that there is you're the man if you have that belt. So if Turki Alalshikh makes that belt, brings the belt back and brings prestige to it again, like whoever has that, it could really mean somewhere. It means we could be getting closer to a one champion per division. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's only good news. I mean, I know people have a lot to say about Saudi and their involvement in boxing, but they're giving people the best paydays of their career. They're putting on amazing shows. You've only got to look at this weekend. It's a great show this weekend. You've got the 21st of December, unbelievable, stacked from top to bottom card. So I love what's happening.
If the idea with Riyadh Season, we don't know this, but if the idea is to move towards a more UFC type model, in the, self-contained, they've got their own media, they've got their own rankings and so on. How far along the path to that are Riyadh Season now? How close are they to what
Well,
UFC have?
I don't think it will ever happen exactly like the UFC. But if you look at if we were to say 2 or 3 years ago, Frank and Eddie Hearn would be even putting on a show together, never mind under the same umbrella, and under the same network banner and making great fights like Shabazz Massoud, Liam Davis, we wouldn't have seen that fight a few years ago. Do you know that? We wouldn't have seen as good of a fight that is. We wouldn't have seen it a few years ago. So it's great for the sport. It's like unites the sport type of thing and brings it together. And I'm sure, like, if Ben doesn't carry on with Sky, I'm sure they'll be knocking on the DAZN door to try and get into the DAZN network.
If you were a betting man, does Sky renew Boxer?
Don't know. I don't know. You
You
like
can't
look.
say don't know if you're a betting man.
Danny, I don't know because look, Ben, as much listen, I don't always agree with what Ben does and says and how he. I would be lying if I said I do, but he's obviously done something to get the Sky deal. Do you know what I mean? Like he's had it. How long's he had it now? 3 years.
3 years, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years. So I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. That Sky might love what he's doing, or they might hate what he's doing. I don't know because I'm not in those conversations. But what they've obviously had a few setbacks with what's happened with Big Fraser and what happened with Ben Whittaker. Because I know they were pushing Ben to be a pay-per-view star, and now it's a big old setback what he's had. So I don't know. I really don't know. Like Sky might decide they don't want to be in boxing, or they might want to just do the pay-per-view platform. It's an amazing platform. Sky's an unbelievable platform for fighters, and it has been over the years. I grew up watching boxing on Sky Sports. So yeah, look, listen, let's see. But I'm not going to speculate whether I think that Ben will lose his broadcast deal because we don't know. We're not in them conversations. Like they could really like what he's doing or they could hate what he's doing. Let's see. But listen, the more platforms in boxing, the better because it means fighters get paid more money. If there's only one home for boxing, the fighters are going to get paid less money. So it's more platforms, the better, Danny.
Let's see if you really like what he's doing. You said it's been 3 years. What grade would you give Boxer on Sky out of 10?
What are you trying to do to me here, Danny? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
You never dodge questions, Sam. Come on.
No, it's not. But I can't give you a. I enjoyed the Amir Khan Kell Brook fight, even though it was years too late. I went there and I thought that was a brilliant show. I thought it was such a packed crowd. I enjoyed the Fabio Wardley Fraser Clark thing, but I've also seen some shows that I wouldn't want to watch ever again for the rest of my life. So I don't know. 6? I don't know.
I think that's fair,
It's
kind.
above average, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He won't mind that. Um, let's get on to the Regis Prograis and Jack Catterall stuff because I'm sure you're desperate to talk about that.
Not really.
No. Like you say, you get flack all the time, so you've got a thick skin. But was that tough even for you?
Do you know what, Danny? For about half an hour, my head was just like, more. This is both hands to God. I was thinking, why has he done that? I get on really well with Regis Prograis. Why has he cooked me like a kipper there? But then at the same time, then just is what it is, isn't it? If that's what he wants to do, it's not something I would do to somebody. I mean, I would understand if I said it a week prior or a year prior or even a year and a half prior, but 3 years ago, I was like, come on, Regis, it's a bit. And when I said, oh, right hand to God, I never said that. I legitimately forgot that I ever had those conversations. Otherwise, I clearly wouldn't have said that. So I was just put under the spot. I wasn't part of the press conference because at the beginning, Evans Tobler was banned from that side from going on the press conference. So I kind of thought that me and Evans had our back and forth, like we're having our fun banter to sell the fight. And in the second press conference, I was asked if I wanted to be as part of the table. And I thought that was weird in itself because Evans wasn't on there. So I think somebody knew something was coming, and I was kind of left in the dark about it. And I was offered a microphone before the press conference by Dan Barnard, who works for Manchester. I was like, no, I don't want a microphone. I get enough stick as it is. I don't want to be weighing in on the press conference. Regis, quiet as you like, all the way through it. And then just as it's finishing, I'm literally just about to turn my back to go and walk, to go and get a drink. And then he's just like, Sam Jones. I was like, oh, hey, what's going on here? And then he just, he cooked me like a kipper.
It must have been premeditated for a long time though, because he's kept that
100%,
message.
100. It wasn't a message. It was a phone call, a
Yeah.
recorded phone call. So it was. I was having a Zoom conversation with him, with himself and one of his associates to try and make the Jack Catterall fight 3 years ago.
But the fact that he's
Um,
kept that for 3 years.
no, so what? Obviously, someone had obviously recorded the conversation 3 years ago. I know who it was, and they've obviously reminded Regis of what was said, and he's like, "Yeah, you fucking go and get him at this press conference." Listen, it is what it is. Me and Regis spoke afterwards. I was I was disappointed at first, but then after an hour, I just thought everyone's talking about the fight. I'm getting loads of stick, but everyone's talking about the fight, and it's made the fight a little bit bigger. If the joke's on me, it's at my expense. But yeah, I took a good L on the on that day, and listen, we live to fight. We live to fight another day. But yeah, did my arse go like a water slide? Yes, it did, Danny.
Good to know. What was Jack's reaction to it?
Wasn't one bit bothered.
No.
I said he remembers that time of that time. Me and Jack weren't. I know it said on the voice, oh yeah, I know Jack really well. When I say I know him as a fighter. I know him as a fighter. I'd met Jack once prior. Do you know what I mean? But now we work together. Listen, if I had said this a year ago or when I'm working with Jack, yeah, no problem. I deserve all the. But I just wouldn't. People know my character. People that do know me as a person know that if I'm with a fighter, I'm with them 100%, which is the reason why I believe I've got the best stable in the United Kingdom. If I'm with you, I am with you. But if I'm working as a neutral person, working for a company, trying to get a fight done, then yeah, of course I'm going to say what I need to say to get the fight done. That's me just being honest.
Good stuff.
I'm not going to say, just to put this into context for people, I'm not going to ring Regis Prograis and say, by the way, Regis, I think you should defend your world title or wherever it was at the time against Jack Catterall, but he's going to probably ping your head off for 12 rounds. Take the fight, sunshine. How am I going to get a fight done doing by saying that? Like, you're going to have to say it's a great fight. And even if I did believe that Regis Prograis would flatten Jack back in the day, that's my opinion at the time. My times change. One thing I will tell you is, if we're going to be talking brutal honesty, when Jack was signed to fight Josh Taylor, the first fight, I picked Josh to win. If you dig up the interviews, I said Jack's going to do a lot better than what you think is, because I rated Jack. I did really rate Jack. But Josh at the time was an undisputed champion, looking unbelievable. Like he's the best pound for pound, the best 140-pound fighter in the world, undisputed. So I thought Josh would beat Jack, but that's me being honest. But now, since working with Jack, Jack's the best 140-pound fighter in the world. I truly believe that, and I think he's slowly proving it. But yeah, that's just me being honest. But did I ever think Regis Prograis could beat Jack? Absolutely not.
Fair enough. Talking of Prograis, he was very complimentary about Jack in the immediate post-fight interview in the ring. Since
Yeah,
seen a couple of comments from him where he seems to have retracted a lot of that. What do you
yeah.
make of it?
Listen, he's. I think Regis's plan, not to put words in his mouth, but he told me in the ring that that's him done. And I
Yeah.
said, no, you shouldn't retire, Regis. You've just put up a good fight there. Like, I think when he watches it back, he'll see that he was in the fight early doors, and Jack just performed when it mattered. But Jack went into the fight with two cracked ribs and a completely blocked nose. I know people, oh, it's a blocked nose, but he had the flu, Jack. So Jack was at 50, not even 50% for that fight. And he still went in there and performed when it counted, because Jack was Regis was just creeping in front, I believe, around round 5. I
Hmm.
think maybe that was the round. He was just creeping ahead, and then Jack clawed it back, and then Jack had the huge round in round 9, and Jack pulled away and performed amazingly, and he deserves huge credit. And that's why, like, listen, this is my favourite time in boxing. I had some amazing times with Joe Joyce and S Jam at the start, but this is my favourite time in boxing. Jack's one of the best people I've ever met, and he's one of my very, very close friends.
And the famous right hand to God post-fight. The next fight will be for a world title. Any progress on that?
I had a little brief chat with Eddie yesterday, and look, I think where we're sat at the moment is Jack sits number 2 in the WBO, think number 2 in the IBF, maybe, or 1 or 2 in the IBF. Ramirez is fighting Barboza this weekend. I believe if Ramirez wins, Jack could go to number 1 because Ramirez sits at number 4. And no disrespect to Barboza, but he lost to Sean McComb, right? He lost to Sean McComb and he got gifted a decision. I would think it was unfair if Ramirez beat Barboza and went straight to number 1. I believe that you should elevate Jack, and I believe that I'm confident in the WBO doing that. But if Lopez moves up, which is what we all think he's going to do, because I don't believe he would want to fight Jack in a million years, because Jack's the style that can cause him problems, whether people want to disagree with that or not. Jack has a style to cause Teofimo Lopez problems. As great as a fighter he is, Lopez, he's a brilliant fighter, but I think he's looking at crazy money fighting he wants to fight Crawfords, and which, whether it's realistic or not, that's the way his brain works. So he's got a contractual dispute with Top Rank. So I think Jack could fight for the vacant belt or the interim world title against Ramirez or Barboza. So it'll be like as good as a world title, if that makes sense, the winner of that fight. Or we've got Paro against Hitchens fighting in Puerto Rico on December the 7th, and Jack could fight the winner of that. So Jack sits in the best position he's been in a long time, and it's took a lot of hard work for him to get there.
Great stuff. Sam, really appreciate your time as always. Let's do it again soon, maybe after Tyson Paul and Paul Tyson, and see how that
What
went.
do you think is going to happen in that, Danny? I know you're not scared to give your opinion. What do you think is going to happen in that fight?
If it's on the level and it's not a fixed fight, I think Jake Paul wins comfortably. I think,
Yeah.
Tyson wasn't the fighter of his prime 20 years ago. So he's not going to have
And
got
the
any
rest.
better from smoking weed for the last 20 years, is he? But
And the rest. But yeah,
that
like I
seems
said,
logical.
let's just hope Tyson comes out of it all right with his pockets full of money, and no one gets hurt.
Yeah, well, we can both share that aim. Really appreciate it, mate. Take care. Hope your daughter's all right now.
Yeah, she's good. Thank
She's
you,
fine.
mate.
Since we stopped talking about Tyson, she's fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. She's all right now.
See you later.